Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Ultimate Webinar Series for the Serious Landscape Designer. This is webinar number 5 in our 6-part series. We have Patrick Duchesne on the line with us. Patrick, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure.
So today, our host again, Patrick Duchesne, Duchesne Design Solutions. Wow, thanks for sticking it out through us with us for the 6-part webinar series, number 5 of 6. My name is Joe Salemi. I'm the Product Marketing Manager with DynaSCAPE. Very happy that all of you could join us today. Thanks so much for, again, sticking it out with us. So today we're looking at advanced presentation techniques, and this is webinar number 5, so we're really starting to dig into some advanced stuff. So today we're looking at how to get your drawing ready for Sketchup. So going from DynaSCAPE Design to Sketchup. We're going to give an introduction to the Sketchup process and what that is like. So exporting your drawing from DynaSCAPE Design, opening it up into Sketchup, and making your way from a line drawing to a 3D model. And we're going to do that really, really quick. You know, inside of a webinar is generally pretty quick to be able to do that, but through the magic of webinar technology, I think we might be able to pull that off, huh, Patrick?
I think so. We will.
Yeah, there you go. We're also going to give you an overview of DynaSCAPE Sketch 3D and our integration with SketchUp in the library of components. So we'll give you an overview of what that is, how to get access to it, and what that's all about. I'm going to give you an overview of ShaderLite Pro, so a plugin, a rendering plugin for SketchUp, and how to make your models and give it that photorealism and the presentation value. And then again, in its very final format, putting together a final presentation with 2D and 3D views, and essentially something that homeowners absolutely just can't say no to. And you'll see by implementing something like this, your sales closing ratio go through the roof. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. All of these webinars are being recorded, and we are posting them to the website so you can review them later. And I have been sending out the link. So if you haven't got that link, if you've registered for the webinar series very recently and you haven't got that link, I will be sending it out again after this webinar, so you'll get access to that. We will have time at the end of this webinar for questions and answers. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a little chat bubble. Please go into that and ask your questions there. I'll try and answer them as we go. And if I can't answer them, then I'll have Patrick answer them and demonstrate how we do that within the software. So at this point, I think we're pretty well ready to hand it over to you, Patrick. You're all set over there? I'm gonna hand over control, and it'll all be on you for the next little while.
All right. See my screen okay?
We do, and looks like you have a good internet connection for today.
Yeah, I'm doing it in my kitchen, so if my office power goes out, I don't care.
Oh,
so I'm in good shape today.
Perfect.
All right. Okay, so webinar 5, this is really a collection of functionality, a lot of it in one 45-minute period or something. So I'm going to go kind of briefly through the steps, and then obviously at the end you can ask questions. So I'm going to kind of take you through the workflow as well of what you can accomplish from start to finish with 3 different programs: DynaSCAPE Design, Color. DynaSCAPE Design, DynaSCAPE Color, SketchUp, and ShaderLite. There are other rendering programs out there. However, I think that, well, for me, ShaderLite was really the easiest to learn. It's such a great, affordable price, and I think pound for pound, it's probably one of the most has the most value of almost any program I've bought. So here's what I kind of want to show everybody. This is a project that I did last year for a client, and here's where it originated. it started with something very simple like this, a survey. Nothing pretty, but that was all I needed to get started. I was given photographs of the job, so I knew kind of where windows and all those things were. And I needed all those photographs for the 3D model. So if you are someone like me who does design for other landscape companies, when you're going to do a project that they even think that there are going to be 3D images in the, or 3D modeling, just have them make sure that they get a lot of photos of the back of the house, the roof line, where all the windows are, where all the doors are, because when you model this, you don't have to make it to the inch or couple inch accuracy, but you want it pretty darn close as far as windows and doors are, because you know that clients get really hung up when they see something that's not right, and then it's just, they get hyper-focused on it, and then it doesn't look good for you because you weren't paying attention to the details. So get lots of pictures so you prepare yourself, or you prepare whoever might be doing that modeling for you to know exactly where what is. So this was the survey that I was given, and then the client, then I created in DynaSCAPE just a base sheet. All it had was the property line, the driveway, the front walkway, and the building footprint. Then I emailed this back to him, and he printed it out, and he did all his little doodling on here. I've kind of worked with him for a while, so I know exactly what all this means, but it pretty much makes really good sense. He showed me that the finished floor here is 0. We're going to go down one step, another step into the patio floor, and then et cetera, down the steps. So I really kind of knew where his grades were going to be, and then he showed me where the plant locations would be and what sizes. If you're given something like this, don't just go by what they do on here as far as plantings. Make sure that things are full and they look right, because obviously this is just a concept. So we're the professionals, and we're kind of responsible of doing some cleanup work and fine-tuning in the end. So take what your client gives you and just make it better and make it look right. So I took this sketch and I prepared a drawing in DynaSCAPE that looked like this. So this is cheating because you're not really allowed to see any of this yet. But this is the drawing. So if I were to split screen this, let's open up that drawing again. And you're going to see how similar those two are. Look at that. Pretty darn close, right? So he did a good sketch. I did a good job of making it look pretty realistic as far as the layout that he wanted. These are my labels. They're not staggered like I've been telling you looks good, because this is before I staggered labels. So here's my drawing. Now, this is really where it gets interesting, because DynaSCAPE created a, I don't even know what you want to call it, Joe, like a conversion tool, or pretty much it's an export tool that sends your drawing into Sketchup, which allows you to start manipulating that. So let's take this, and here's what I normally do. I'll copy this, and then I'll just open up another drawing, and then we'll turn constraints and these things off, and I'll just paste it right here. And because SketchUp, you obviously really don't even need all this text. Just center this in your drawing, and just get rid of all of this text here. All I want is line work, and plant material. Okay? So get rid of this. Any more, let's get rid of this. We'll get rid of that. We don't need those words. Now we just have a nice clean drawing. Now, this is crucial. These plants are grouped. And there's a feature in SketchUp that you're going to be able to use components with. And it's a reload function. And the reload function will enable you to automatically bring 5 of whatever you want to use in here. Let's just say they're skip laurels, which they are. If you reloaded this, it would only reload 1 because it's going off of this, I guess. It's going off this control point. So what you want to do in this drawing is just click Control-A and hit the uncluster tool. And it unclusters everything. Okay? So now, when we reload, each individual thing will reload. This will reload by itself. This, all of these things, especially like the plant. Okay? So let's just save this. Let's just do this. Actually, we can export right from here. So everybody, this comes in the version that everybody, all of you own in DynaSCAPE. There's no light version. There's no full version. There's just the version. We're going to clean up the drawing for export. I always have remove lines on the building layer unchecked, and then these 2 on here. And then you click Start Cleanup. Joe, if you wanted to explain more of what that actually does, you can. I have no really clue what it does. All I care is that it
there's
works.
A bunch of functions that that happen in here. You know, one of the things you want to do is go and remove your labels, because you don't need your labels going to a 3D model. And so, you know, this removes a bunch of things inside the drawing that you just don't need. You know, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, and it happens really, really fast.
Very fast. Yeah. The one thing I want to tell everybody is you want to make sure, though, this is a really good gauge on how well you're drafting. And you'll see in a minute. You want all your lines to be intersecting like nicely, because it's going to create these spaces that if they're not joined, you have to do a lot of cleanup work. So draft cleanly, have lines intersecting. Don't have a lot of drafting where you have a sidewalk like this, and then you have something else kind of being lazy. That's going to create just a ton of nightmares in SketchUp. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so File, SketchUp, Clean Up Drawing, keep those checked. That's what I do. Start the cleanup. Okay? Then it's going to basically launch this and say, okay, where do you want to save this? Let's save it as webinar cleanup, webinar conversion drawing. Okay? Save. Your drawing has been prepared for SketchUp. Good. Okay? And look, just like Joe and I said, before exporting to SketchUp, it's recommended you manually remove, can't read, remove any text and leaders, dimensions, hatch patterns, title blocks, and raster images. That will cause a lot of problems when you create faces, because there's just going to be a lot of extra geometry in there that does not need to, not geometry, just a lot of stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
okay,
no, you're
so
right.
that's great.
It's a lot of extra geometry that will have to be exported, and then when you're there, that you'll just have to get rid of. So get rid of it now, do the work now, and then it'll save you time later.
Okay, yeah, good. Nice clean drawing when you get there. So we did the first step. Now we go to SketchUp, export to SketchUp, okay? Now, so anybody who's running Windows Defender right now, I always just turn it off really quick because it seems to export light years faster when Windows Defender's off. So if you're converting these and it just seems to be taking a while, turn off Windows Defender and I guarantee you it will just be a fraction of the time. Okay, so this is telling you where it's going to save it. I don't want it to save, well, it's going to save right there, but I'm going to just put it on the desktop as Webinar 5 model. Okay, test, save. Okay, ready, go. Click OK. It's going to do its thing. Okay, it's already done. There are times where that can take a little while based on how much geometry in your drawing, how quick your computer is, kind of, if Windows Defender is on. Okay, so your export's complete. Let's bring it into SketchUp. Okay, so this is SketchUp Make right now. It's the free version. I just bought this thing a while ago, so I haven't put Pro on it like I have on my other computer, so I'm not cheating. Okay, start using SketchUp. So this is 2017, which is really cool. There's some really neat functionality they just put in there. So I just clicked Start, and it already brought it in. So we're almost there. Now, it's blue, but I can't really push or pull anything yet. So this is a push-pull tool, and I'm not going to get into a lot of stuff in SketchUp. The point here is really just show presentation. So this is where I'm going to kind of stop and hand it over to Joe, though, because there is this magic tool here that DynaSCAPE came up with that when we show this tool and when we show this export functionality and this cleanup tool to those who don't have it, they just drool because of how quickly this does what it's going to do. So I'm going to let Joe talk a little bit about the component library they've built, what exactly this tool does, so he can introduce you to a real piece of the puzzle here that's just going to create just dynamic models.
Yeah, and so essentially that's through our product called Sketch 3D. And Sketch 3D is a giant warehouse of 3D components and plugins for SketchUp. And the plugin that Patrick is talking about does a whole bunch of different things. And so, it cleans up your CAD, it extends some lines, it trims lines. I think there's like 8 or 10 different functions that it actually does, and it all does it inside of a couple of milliseconds. So it really reads your line drawing very, very quick and does all of that very, very fast. So Sketch 3D is a series of over 1,200 components and models to use inside of SketchUp. And so if you think of SketchUp, for those that are new to SketchUp, SketchUp is a lot like your smartphone. And to make your smartphone do what you want it to do, you add apps. And in SketchUp's case, you would add plugins. And we have a plugin that we've developed to make your life a lot easier, and just that plugin alone is worth the money. And through our series of 3D components, we make SketchUp landscape specific. So the 2 and 3D components, we have very real plants and trees and shrubs, and so when you have a 18-foot silver fir, it's going to come into your drawing as 18-foot. And the CAD cleanup tool. So this is the plugin that I'm speaking about, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about Sketch 3D and what it is. So this is on the DynaSCAPE website, dynascape.com/sketch3d, and really what the plugin does after you've done the process. So it's right here where you want to run the DynaSCAPE CAD cleanup tool. And it's a series of things. So you go from this line drawing that Patrick was showing you, which is all in white, and in this older version of SketchUp, it's all in green. But when you apply the plugin, it turns everything blue. And that is the indication that the plugin has worked. And sometimes you need to run it maybe 2 or 3 times. And Patrick, you might have even found that as well. But that's because when it fixes something, it gets access to something else that it can fix. So sometimes if you run it once and you see that there's still some spots that are not blue, if you run it again, sometimes you'll find that it just fills in the blanks for you. So run that tool, and once you run that tool and give your line drawing faces, that's when you can start your 3D modeling and go and bring up the structure like your home and replace all of the 2D symbols for the 3D components that we have as part of Sketch 3D. And so here we have some examples of the real trees and plants and shrubs and the structure and the water features that we have. So we have someone that all they do is be an artist inside of SketchUp. So we'll give them a series of photos for a plant, and then their job is to interpret that plant or tree or shrub and develop that inside of SketchUp. And so, you know, some of the things, if you ever go to our content site at sketch3d.dynascape.com, we have a series of free components here so you can try them out. But we've got everything, and everything you need to stage your landscape, including a DynaSCAPE logger and a very nice DynaSCAPE bottle of red wine. So right from everything that you absolutely need to stage your outdoor living space, you know, even with fire pits, an entire series of different styles, an entire fire pits ready to go. The amount of landscape projects that I've seen that have built this particular fireplace to the exact replica has been incredible. So being able to take that and build it is very, very good. So seeing all the pools and the water features that we have, there are tons and tons available. The pricing on this, so Sketch 3D is $599, and it's $8.25 a month. Now, the plugin alone, for the amount of time that it's going to save you, is absolutely worth every single penny. So Patrick, I'm going to send it back over to you, and then you can continue
on,
showing us how you make that line drawing into a 3D model.
Okay, so that library is just priceless that Joe just showed you. And so number one, when you do buy Sketch 3D, and you have access to that, you cannot batch download them all at once. So what you want to do is just, you know, get a nice glass of wine or a beer or whatever, sit on the couch, and just spend an hour or two and go through it and download them all and organize those. And I'll show you how I organize them. Secondly, what was I going to say? Oh, check in often in that library that they have, because new things, I don't know how often they come out, because to be honest with you, I haven't checked it in a little while, but there was one 3D model I built where I built a pavilion, and then I built the fireplace and everything, and then literally the day after, I was perusing the library, and I saw the same darn pavilion and fireplace that I was kind of building, that they were all locked together, and it would have saved me a few hours of time. So check into that often.
Yeah, we add models to that library on a monthly to semi-monthly basis, depending on how long it takes our artists to develop some of those 3D components. And when we do add them, we add 5 or 10 at a time. Cool.
Okay, so then I need to stay with it a little bit more. All right, so here's my black and white. Kind of just really, it's not even a model yet. It's just kind of a whatever. It's a bunch of lines.
Line drawing.
So it's a line drawing. That's all it is. So let's go into extensions, and this is what we want to do. So when you install this, with 2017, it's really, really cool what they did. If you go to Window Extension Manager, this is a new extension manager, and what you download from DynaSCAPE, it's called a Ruby script, and all you do is you go install extension, you go double-click that Ruby script, and what it does is it installs this extension that when we run cleanup, it's done. So this means that I drew this pretty darn well. But see, okay, this is a great example. You're going to get this every once in a while, these little lines. So this is where you do sometimes have to come in and clean these up. And see, when I close these off, see, that's what happens. So it kind of cleans it up. Every once in a while you get these anyway, and you just, I don't know, it just happens. I'm getting better at it anyway, so maybe one of these days I'll figure that out. But okay, so let's just save this, okay, because we don't want to lose it. Now, this is where all the fun starts. This is where you can start pushing and pulling your model. You know, these are your steps. So this, what I would do with this model is just bring all this stuff down. This step was, let's see, it's 12 inches down. So I'm going to bring that step down 12 inches, bring this one down. So that's where you really start having fun building your steps, you know. So there's steps, and I'm not going to get into a lot of modeling. But this is where this really becomes cool. So remember when I told you just a few minutes ago, you do not want plants grouped. Let's bring this up because this is a little distracting having this down here. You do not want them grouped, so these all would be individuals. So let's make these, let's just say this is, I don't know, gold thread cypress just popped into my head. So we're going to go to reload. And I copied and pasted my sketch, my DynaSCAPE sketch library. But look how organized this is. I downloaded these, and all of these libraries, I know exactly where everything is. So if I go into my shrubs, here's some gold thread cypress. So let's click that. Watch this. How slick is that? I mean, I clicked it one time. And that's kind of a function of SketchUp. But what I want to do is move this thing over and zoom in. Look how realistic this is. That is canvas cypress. That is a real gold thread cypress. Let's make these. Let's make these muhly grass that they use down in Texas a lot. So let's go back up in here and let's go into grasses and let's pick whatever pink muhly grass. Look how fast I am modeling this. Let's make this Liriope. So let's go to reload. I'll do one more of these. SketchUp. Oh, I might have Liriope actually in grasses. Let's make it carrots. Pretty slick. Okay. So this is the reload function. That's more of a SketchUp thing, but look at how awesome these look. Okay. So any of you who are modeling right now, take this one step further. Start creating kind of preset things. Watch this. I'm going to reload this, and I'm going to go to patio furniture. Okay, let's go here. 8-person full table setting. Okay, load. Okay, let's just be patient. Okay, didn't load in the orientation I wanted, but that's okay. But check it out what I did. I was building a model once, and I hope I'm not making everybody dizzy, but I'm sure all of you know what I'm doing because when you're in SketchUp, you're constantly just moving the screen. But so what I did was I took a DynaSCAPE table, and I put DynaSCAPE place settings. Then I put DynaSCAPE beer, candles, some champagne or Prosecco or whatever you want that to be, a couple wine glasses. And then all I did was you just click Save As. Well, you can't now because it's an object, but I saved that as a place setting. So now in the future, whenever I want to put a table in my drawings, I throw this thing in there because it's already set. And this probably saves me 3 or 4 minutes of drawing just doing that. So I need to discipline myself a little bit more to make more things like this, more preset components, so it could really speed me up. So this is really a wonderful thing to be able to convert this very quickly, reload these incredible DynaSCAPE figures. Okay, so let's take this model, and we're going to shut this model down. We're not going to save it. And we're going to bring up this model because this is that model finished. Now look at this. It's not perfect. See this little gap? See this? It's not like super duper polished fine because none of my clients really, well, one of them does. He likes to get the model from me and spin it around. But I don't like that approach. It's a little bit too, I don't know, it's too animated for people, and they get too enamored at the actual software function as opposed to the actual images. So this is the model. DynaSCAPE grill, all of the components in here are DynaSCAPE, other than maybe that light. So here's the house that was modeled, and you can see this whole house is its own image. So when I do a lot of my 3D modeling, I have somebody that I have her build the houses for me, because she's a lot better at it than me and a lot quicker, and then it just speeds me up. So what I do is she'll build a house for me, and then if I need to tweak anything when she sends it back, like adjust colors of siding or whatever, I'll do that, because I want to make it look pretty close. And then I just bring her model in here, and then I model everything around it. So that's your 3D model. Now, we could take this and be happy with it and do something like this, where we'll go File, Export 2D Graphic, and we could save it right on our, let's go Image 1. We'll just call it Image 1. Okay, so it's saving. So if we go to the desktop and we go to Image 1, this is something really nice that you could show somebody. Looks pretty good, shows the story, but we can do much, much better, okay? So that is where rendering tools come in. Rendering tools just completely blow me away as far as what they're capable of doing. And I do this all the time, and I know a lot of you do this all the time too. And I don't know about you, but I am completely enamored by what rendering software can do to this simple model to bring it to life. So enter ShaderLite. ShaderLite is a program that works directly with Sketchup. And what it does is just what I said. It takes your model and makes it 3D photorealistic. It is one of the easiest programs I have ever used. It was the fastest to learn. Daniel Tall, who's a good friend of Joe and mine, wrote a book called Rendering, I think it's called Rendering for Sketchup. And I haven't read the whole book, but I read the part about ShaderLite. I think he may go into other programs too, but it's a really great book. It's not expensive. I don't make any money telling people about it, but it really does walk you through the basics of the functionality of ShaderLite. I think there's some pretty darn good web YouTube videos, and they have really good customer service there. Kate Marshall is the person who really kind of communicates with a lot of people, and she's one of the most reliable people I think I've ever dealt with. Probably about the same as Joe Salemi. Right, Joe?
Thanks, Patrick.
Trying to give you a plug there. I don't get paid for that either. Okay, so let's jump into ShaderLite, and let's actually watch what this does, and then I'm going to show you what we do with these images. Okay, so here is this little ball. What this little ball does, it enables you to adjust finishes on your texture. So when I click on the little, I guess it's a medicine dropper, and I medicine drop this window, you see where it's saying auto, and it's an auto finish. But if we go to transparent, and you go actually no, let's go translucent, you can adjust all the properties of that. But what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to show you what that does. So here's the toolbar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tools. I make some really cool-looking renders, and I know I don't use the full functionality of ShaderLite. It does incredible indoor stuff, too, but I think that's a little bit harder. So obviously, I just deal with the exterior stuff. So this little camera here will run the renders, but this sets your resolution. You can go way high. This is pretty cool. I think it was one of the last updates. You can actually scale this to show on an iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I've had an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and I am telling you, these renders look absolutely incredible on an iPad Pro. Surface Pro 4, they look incredible. And even with a really high resolution screen, these things look awesome. I always run mine at like a 1920 by 1080. Okay, so that's that. then I'm not going to really explain a lot about this, but these are kind of presets for lighting environments. And let's put sunlit lawns, because for some reason that one always looks good. And this position is basically affecting where the sun is, and I'll show you what that does. So let's just pull this model. Let's render this, because there's a few things that will show up on here, okay? So all I need to do is click the little camera. I sit back, and I didn't even launch the program. It just did it itself. And you can look down at the bottom left corner. Do you see? Are you seeing this real time, Joe, where it's processing? Oh, yeah. And you're, okay, perfect.
Yeah, we can see it as it's working.
Okay, so it's putting this render together for me. And what I'm going to do now is split screen this. Let's do that again. What I'm going to do now is split screen this. Last time, split screen this. Okay. All right, so you can see it's doing its render. Watch what happens when I zoom the model out. It adjusts and recalculates and re-renders. So watch what happens. So the windows are not real flattering right now. They're just blue. So let's do what I was telling you, where medicine dropper, let's click on the window, and let's go down to translucent. And watch, let's go thin reflective. Watch what happens to these windows. Let's zoom in. And just let it do its thing. Still processing. So it should start showing some reflectivity. Yeah, so you're starting to see some more let's see, let's go solid reflective. No, I usually use thin reflective, but you're seeing reflections of the steps. So this is where it starts really getting good. So let's go back to the medicine dropper, and let's click on our grill. So it's auto, but let's go to metal and make that metal chrome. And watch what happens to the grill. Now, I want to tell you something about the Shader Light product, though, as far as hardware needs. When you have a lot of RAM on your computer, that helps a lot. This will take as much processor power as you can throw at it. So right now I'm rendering this on my Surface Pro. It's a dual-core system, which it's basically like there's there's two lanes of like processing power. When you start getting into quad cores, 6 cores, 8 cores, 12 cores, your rendering time is really, really reduced because it's allowed to do, or it's doing a lot more calculations at one time. So I'm going to full screen this really quick, and I'm going to show you what this thing's actually doing now. So it's starting to look pretty cool. Now let me go and let's just change the sun angle. And this is where, watch how this thing pops now. Now you're starting to see the sun and shadows, and watch this. This is, I could get lost in the sun here, but I will be careful not to. So let's go to the water, and let's make the water, we go to, let's see, I think we go to translucent, liquid, reflective. Watch what happens to this water. So you can see, once it would render, you can actually now start seeing through the water. This really brings it to life. So what I suggest is you have 2 screens. You know, you have a second screen on your computer. So when you adjust your model on one screen, you can watch it in real time on the other. In a perfect world, what you should try to do is have a separate rendering computer. That's really nice because this will tie your computer up. There's not a lot I can do on this computer right now because it is eating every bit of power and resources and processing power out of my computer, and it will slow your render down. So we don't want to do that. So this is shader light. It's just absolutely incredible. So I'm going to show you what the final results of these are. So let's not save this. And let's go and show you what these things look like. Let's see. Here's the first one. Okay? So, I mean, you show that to somebody, and the deal's done, in my opinion. Like, see the windows? Look at the reflection of the chairs in the windows. Look how real these coreopsis look. I don't think I have any close-ups, but the wine bottles, they just reflect. I mean, they look so darn real. You know, look at this. You can see right into the spa. This is a towel. This isn't a DynaSCAPE towel, but I got that on the 3D warehouse because I figured you're going to need a towel. Otherwise, you're going to have to go run in and ask somebody or whatever. But anyway, there's candles. And the word Joe said was perfect. You stage your drawing. It's just like when you sell your house. You put a bunch of things in it and make it look much better than it ever looks when you really live there. But, you're not going to really have this stuff sitting out in the middle of, when you're not going to be using it. But it really brings these things to life. In the 3D warehouse, you can get 3D people and put them on there too. I don't usually put people in there because I like people to look at it like it's theirs and somebody's not on their back patio that they don't know or whatever. So pretty cool. And in my last, I don't remember which webinar it was, but I was saying how I want to really try this model with 1 or 2 clients next year to just have them show this because, I mean, you tell me, Joe, if you and your wife were going to have a project done and I brought you 5 or 6 photos of this and an estimate, would you really care to see a drawing that much?
No. I mean, once I saw that, I mean, that's really everything I need to know. I would leave it up to you and the crew to have a construction document so that you could build from it.
Exactly. And that's really the purpose of the drawing, is to estimate it correctly, which next webinar will be really fun for that. Now, if they really
what I would want, though, Patrick, what I would want when you're showing me these 3D models when I'm about to get some work done, is I would want you to send them to me when I do go ahead with the job, because then I want to share them with all my friends and family and say, hey, look what's coming and going to be in my backyard.
Yeah, exactly. It's just incredible, and I'm telling you, I'm not like telling everybody how good I am at this, but you will do some renders once you get good enough that people will think are real photographs, and it's really fun to get their reactions. So there are, what you really want to make sure of in models is you show them certain views. You want to show them kind of what it's going to look like when you're standing here and there's a walkway and, this is a design thing. We have these hidden view things, and you walk around the corner and then here you hit this, and then, you're navigating. What does it look like when I'm sitting at this table looking over at the spa? I know I'm making some people probably dizzy now, but, you can really get a feeling like if I was sitting at this table, I would probably be asking why I don't have a glass of wine in front of me like this guy does, but, you can see all of this. So that's really the importance of these models and showing all these steps, because this is something that's not really easy to show people. Now, you can show them when you create a color drawing, which this is the drawing in DynaSCAPE Color. So this is a real Techo block texture. This is real mulch. This is real grass. But I can kind of tell the story with this, with shadowing of steps going up and down, but nowhere near the 3D. So what do? We do this. We bring them into, remember everybody, to get to another drawing that's open, this is like a tool timeout. You go to Window, select your other drawing. So what I've done is, these are those little clip art boxes I made in the last webinar, and I bring these images into my drawing. So what does this do? This eliminates you having to fumble around with more pictures than you need. Now, I will tell you that these look just lights out incredible when you print them on photo paper. So that's a nice angle. But this is a very nice way to present it. Then you bring it into color, and here are your images. Here's my little clip art with the shadow background. And this is what you show somebody. Put this thing to the background. There's some legal things there for them. And then you can save this, and you get a very nice PDF that you send your client, or you carry with you and print out. Now, this color background, I know it kind of eats a lot of ink. However, I think the dynamics of this drawing, if I were to delete that, delete it. See the difference between this and that? I just think that tone behind it, it's a little bit warmer. What do you think, Joe? You like that?
I like it. It's a little bit different from anything really that you see that's out there. And I know you and I were talking about whether or not you were even going to show that because of some of the, it's unique to what you do. But really appreciate you sharing that with everyone on this webinar. It definitely adds to the presentation value, and it adds to the level of care and thought and design that's gone into this project.
Yeah, so before we kind of wrap this up, here's what I want to say about this presentation thing, because this is kind of the crescendo of where you want to take things. And I'm not saying that mine are the best. However, I do design work for landscape companies all over the United States, a few in Canada, and I think I really have dialed in what works. And we all evolve, and we all change how we do things, and I do that too. However, presentations like this sell. There's all the information you need. There is clear understanding of what things are. Now, there would be a separate plant packet with this, or a plant catalog, because I would not want to gunk this up with a lot of pictures. But a drawing like this, with my experience of how many people are selling these drawings, if this is within budget, this is going to be about an 80 to 90% closing rate job. And those are just the numbers. I track numbers. I talk to clients. I find out what sold, what didn't, where we went wrong. And there's really nowhere you can go wrong if you're communicating with your customers, you're getting something back to them in a reasonable amount of time, the numbers are right, and you're thorough like this. So this, if you can start creating something like this, watch your closing rate go through the roof, and watch people just, the whole job goes easier. And something like Joe talked about with the last webinar, where he interjected about showing the color drawings to your crew, showing these 3D images. I mean, if you send a crew out to a job and you show them this is like throwing dollars in your pocket as far as reducing the amount of, I wouldn't say it reduces the amount of labor, but it sure reduces any confusion or questions on what this is supposed to look like, and it will be a much smoother and easier job when your people know what it looks what this looks like. So it's just in closing with this, like this is where I'm very passionate, and this is where I love helping people be better at what they're doing. And I am really encouraging everybody to get into this kind of a presentation. You're going to blow the doors off of almost everybody you compete with, and it's a great feeling walking into somebody's house with this. And I can't tell you how often my clients tell me they got 5 or 6 other bids and this one blew it out of the water. And why did it blow it out of the water? Because I used really good software that does its job and is not complicated. So I'm able to do my job very efficiently, and so will you. And it's not a sales pitch. It's just get ahead of the curve. We see a lot of people at trade shows. I mean, Joe will agree with me. There are still a lot of landscape contractors who haven't even embraced computers and technology yet, let alone getting even into a black and white line drawing. So if you can't do something like this, find somebody who can provide that for you. If you're a DynaSCAPE user and you can make great looking drawings, but you don't have time for SketchUp or 3D modeling or animations, find somebody who does it, because the money that you invest in adding that piece of service to your presentation is going to pay. It's going to pay tenfold, and your business is just going to be so much more enjoyable and successful and profitable because of it. So that's about it.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. So we've got a couple of questions, and there's a common theme among some of the questions that have come in. And if you can pull up your SketchUp model, the questions are all around, and if you zoom out a little bit from there, they want to know, see right there, the steps on the left-hand side. See how you have the grade change. A lot of the questions are, how did you do the grading? In there, and we could do probably a 2-hour training webinar on just using the sandbox tool inside of SketchUp. So if you can give us the 30-second rundown on terrain modeling inside of SketchUp, I know I'm giving you an impossible task, but if you can do that for us, then that'd be great. I think that might help out a lot of people.
First of all, you did give me an impossible task, and I'll cut that 30 seconds down to 5. I have no freaking clue how to do it. So here's what I do. I have the house built for me. I completely build all of this, and then the person who does my house modeling, I throw the model back to her, and she grades that for me in about 20 minutes. So do I know everything? Heck no. And I don't, I do need to learn this, but it's something where if it's easier for me to just send this to her and have her throw it together for me in 20 minutes, and I can spend those 20 minutes doing something else that I'm much more efficient at, that's the way you do it. So what I would recommend,
I'll recommend to you, Patrick, and to everyone else on the webinar, to go and check out YouTube, and what you want to do is search for the sandbox tool in SketchUp, and if you just type SketchUp sandbox tool 101, there's a bunch of videos that show you how to use it. It's really, really not as complex as you might think. And if you understand the concepts of where you need to start and where you need to finish, you'll be okay, and you just follow the rules of the tool, and it tells you what you need to do. So that's all I would recommend. Right. Yeah. So we do have another question, and I've got some comments from some other people. Terrain modeling webinar, please do that. One of the reasons that they stopped learning how to use SketchUp is because they had difficulty terrain modeling. Don't let that detract your use of SketchUp. If you have a hard time doing the terrain modeling, I know there's no such thing as a flat space, but for the concept, assume a flat space and provide a model of the proposed outdoor living space. It will sell your project. So one of the other questions.
Can I add something? Can I add something that really quick? Okay, so this brings up a very important aspect of this. So it's one thing when somebody is going to be spinning this around. It's another thing if they're not. And all we're showing is certain things. Like, look at the house. There's no detail there. There's no detail there. This is just kind of, what I'm trying to say is, don't over-model your models, and you are right. Barely, hopefully your site isn't flat, or you're going to have water sitting everywhere. But you don't always have sites that are level enough to kind of fudge it. But if you can get away with just kind of like roughing something in, and then you pick your camera angles accordingly, you can hide your deficiencies. I mean, I've got deficiencies in SketchUp. I mean, I can use design really fast, but when it gets into SketchUp, sometimes I just pound my head against my desk because, like, I'm proficient at it, but I'd like to be a lot faster. So what do you do? When you have those deficiencies with things, adjust your camera angles and shoot some shots where you can hide some of those. But Joe, you are really right. And my wife says this to me all the time. Why don't you just take classes? Why don't you just whatever? Part of it's because I'm too busy, but it really is. When you do watch somebody who knows how to do it, it really is easy. It's just not something I think for me, it wasn't easy to like look at and teach myself. So when somebody can like show you, now listen, this is another plug for like DynaSCAPE. I don't know who's doing it now, Joe, but DynaSCAPE does have very good relationships with people who are experts in SketchUp. And the person who does my house modeling and the terrain modeling 2 years ago, she took, I can't remember how many hours. It was an hour or two training with Dale Tall when he was doing it for DynaSCAPE, and it completely like escalated her to a whole new level in modeling. And maybe you could say a word about that, Joe.
Oh yeah, so we have a good deal of training around SketchUp, and so Daniel Tall doesn't do our training any longer, but when he said that he couldn't do any training for us any longer because he had some other things on the go, I made him give us some recommendations of the same caliber, if not better, and he recommended one of his good friends who is one of the original founders of SketchUp. His name is Mark Carvalho, and in his basement with 5 other guys, they created a company called Atlas Software, and they created this little 3D modeling program called SketchUp. And then, this giant tech company called Trimble comes along and buys them out, and Trimble sells it to Google, and Google sold it back to Trimble, and now here we all are with Trimble SketchUp. And Mark Carvalho is still doing a great deal of work with SketchUp. They refer to him as the general because he put together all of the training for SketchUp way back when. And if you ever look at some SketchUp videos, SketchUp 101 on YouTube, Mark Carvalho put together all the curriculum around that. And now he is doing training for us. And so you can enroll in our SketchUp Basics, SketchUp Terrain Modeling, DynaSCAPE to SketchUp. So he teaches all of those. And each course is about $250, and they run an hour or two each, and by the end of them, you're a pro.
And there's also a SketchUp, I think they call it Base Camp every 2 years, and this, I think it's in Colorado every year, I think. But the price, it's completely ridiculously reasonable, and I think it's a day or two of all different SketchUp training, and I really wanted to go this year, and I kind of forgot about it, so now I got to wait. I think it's every 2 years, but there's tons of options out there.
Yeah. So we have another question from the floor on the webinar here. So someone's asking, in this model, how much time do you have in the model, including the rendering with shader light?
I would say between the house, the grading, and this, the back of this probably took her maybe, let's see, 2, 3. You know what? This whole thing probably took about 6 to 8 hours, a good part of a day.
Yeah,
the rendering.
So consider this a day's worth project, you know, for someone that's fairly proficient.
Yeah, and the renders, you know, the beauty about the rendering process, like if you do have a separate rendering computer, you know, each one of these renders, the more vegetation you have in a drawing, the longer it's going to take, because it has to, it has to render all these things which are called spaces, all these little pieces in here. But the rendering to do all 4 or 5 of those probably took maybe, I don't know, an hour to an hour and a half. So a good full day. And as far as what you could, I mean, do we even get into what I would suggest they could charge for a service like this? I mean, is that going too far?
Not at all.
I mean, you know, you want to, when you're designing for clients, you should have a couple different rates. You need to have a rate for designing and coloring, and you could probably piggyback that if you help them estimate. But when you're doing 3D modeling and rendering, you really need to take it up a notch, because it's obviously it's an additional cost you're going to be paying with rendering software. SketchUp is, I can't remember how much it is, $500 or $600.
SketchUp is it's $495, and so SketchUp Pro $495, and an annual subscription fee of $95.
Okay, so that's that. And then shader light is about $299 or $300, and then
$299. And DynaSCAPE is a North American reseller of shader light, so you can get the whole package through DynaSCAPE: design, color, Sketch 3D, and shader light through DynaSCAPE. You would just have to go to SketchUp to get SketchUp Pro.
So let's run some numbers really quick. So let's just, because I'll bet you at least half the people in this webinar right now are wondering what they could charge a client for this whole presentation.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's just, so here's another thing I've kind of learned. There's a threshold in this industry for kind of what the market will bear. And a lot of landscape designers really, like, we don't always get away with charging as much as like an architect. So let's just say we're charging our client $75 an hour, which that's a pretty reasonable, acceptable rate in our industry to charge the client. If you can get more, that's great. But just be careful. You don't want to price yourself out of things. So $75 to do this design, color it, and put it on the presentation board, that would be one rate. So let's do $75 to design it, color it, and mount the stuff on the board is probably a good, I'm going to say that was probably a good, well, I mean, for me, maybe 8 hours. Okay, so where's my, I'm dealing with some, let's move this thing up. Okay, so this drawing, you could charge somebody $8, design and color. The model, you'd really want to charge them more like somewhere in $100. Type the numbers in your head, Joe, okay?
Sure.
So we have 600. Then let's just say you do $100 times 8 hours. So there's another $800 to do the model. Now, rendering is a whole different beast. We can't charge what some people do for renders. I've been told that some people, like in the industries of like high-end architecture or whatever, an image like this, like I had some talks with Daniel Tall and some other people that are kind of really the big players in this, and they told me I get like there's no reason you couldn't charge a few $100s per render. Like, there is absolutely no way that our industry is going to allow us to get by with that. So I just really basically charge how long it took me to do them. And if the machine is running for 7 or 8 hours rendering, I'm not going to bill for that. You have to be reasonable. So this whole project, my gut is right in the $1,500 range. That's kind of the sweet spot where I think people would be okay with it. It's just like that number pops in my head, just like most of you who will go look at a landscape project and the customer tells you what they're thinking and whatever. You just have that instinct to look at it and you can think, okay, it's going to take my 5 guys 4 days, so that's 5 times 10 times 4 is whatever, 200 hours, or hopefully I did that right. I'm going to need this much of whatever. This is probably going to be 40 or 50,000 or 40 or 45,000. So this whole project, if you told your client it's going to be about $1,500, I think that's pretty reasonable. Maybe I'm low. I don't know. With my business, I need to be very reasonable with people because I'm doing multiple drawings in a year as opposed to like Joe Salemi Landscape, who is going to be doing this for their client. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but I really get into a rhythm here. But one of the things we'll go over in the next webinar is manage and overhead. And some of the pricing of this is going to be affected by what you're paying your designer and how much time they think they're going to have in it and whatever that is, which gets all into keeping timesheets of their time. So this should be about a $1,500 presentation for somebody, and this job sold for about $85,000 or $90,000 or something like that. So time well invested.
Great. Thank you. And so, you know, and we have a couple other questions, but, you know, just to address them maybe really quick, someone's asking what your thoughts about other rendering plugins. You know, there's other ones like Kirkathea and V-Ray, all great, and I think Kirkathea might have a very inexpensive price tag, if one at all, and it's good. It's just we've found that ShaderLite Pro, for the ease of use and the quality of the renders, is the best value for the dollar. So, which is why DynaSCAPE has partnered with ArtVPS to resell ShaderLite. It's why we promote it all over all the trade shows that we go to, on our website. It's why we show all the SketchUp rendering done in ShaderLite. We really believe in it. It's such a good product, and that's why we've included it in the product offering through DynaSCAPE. So yeah, there's lots of good SketchUp rendering plugins out there. All have a lot of different price tags associated with them and different pricing models. So you've got V-Ray, you've got Podium, Kirkathea, you know, there's a bunch. So yeah, Patrick, I'd like to say thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of work that goes into these webinars, and you know,
I love doing it, and it's worth it, and all we're trying to do is help everybody, and that's the goal.
You got it. So up next is going to be a couple of weeks. So next week, Patrick and I will be at a workshop and conference in Edmonton, Alberta, so in the very cold, white north of Canada. We'll be at a conference there with Landscape Alberta. And the week after that is Thanksgiving in the United States. So we're not going to do the webinar then. So you'll come back, and we'll do the last webinar of the series on December the 1st at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be talking about going from the design to the estimate. And this involves DynaSCAPE Design and Manage 360. And so for those of you that are with us, and I've had a number of comments to say that people are very looking forward to this particular webinar because of how DynaSCAPE integrates cost-based estimating into the design process. And so DynaSCAPE is the only landscape software company that does this. And so we're going to show how that all works, and through the magic of webinar technology, we'll show you how the design can be brought into Manage 360 and create your estimate. And so again, you know, with Manage 360, it's all based on your own numbers, your own budget and cost book. So we'll be using an example of one of DynaSCAPE's Manage 360 clients, and it'll be real numbers, it'll be real materials, it'll be a real project. So please join us December the 1st at 2 p.m. for that webinar. I really want to thank everyone for their time joining us today. Again, I'm Joe Salemi, Product Marketing Manager with DynaSCAPE Software. My email address is jsalemi@dynascape.com. Our website is dynascape.com, and our phone number 1-800-710-1900. And if you want to get to our sales team and start talking about Sketch 3D, DynaSCAPE Design, or Color, or looking to purchase ShaderLite, give us a call or send us an email. Again, that phone number is 1-800-710-1900. Hit extension 2 and you'll get to one of our great account managers. Thanks, everybody. Patrick, appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.